In a fairly recent clip that came out a little bit over a month ago, Ebro talked about how hip-hop's elder statesmen need to be held accountable for the state of hip-hop. Now, this is another one of our old hip-hop person yells at a cloud type of things, but we can discuss
somebody like me who's been around and seen the ebbs and flows of it. I don't think there's a decline in the passion for it and even in the consumption of it. I think the problem actually is those secondary and tertiary fans who weren't really hip hop fans. They're just popular music fans. We talked about
we talked about that.
Right, so they're people who are, those are the people who are gonna come and go just based on trends. They're not here for the culture or, you know, really the art forms and things like that that we hold near and dear. Any decline that you see in hip hop is our fault, hip hop collectively, because we let hip hop become this, everybody gets in, everybody's got a chance. I recorded 50 songs last night.
I understand what you mean, but when you say we let it happen, how do we control that? Like, how do we control those outside?
I'm not saying we could have stopped it, but I think it's important for us to all take accountability.
Because then when people complain, then it turns into it's a generational divide, the gatekeepers, it's old heads.
But that's why I want to put a marker down and say we. I do believe that the younger kids can look at this and go, oh, we didn't care for this thing. We didn't take care of the songwriting. We didn't take care of the music making. We didn't take care of the fan base. We didn't go out and put our best shows and throwing it out so we could grab a bunch of money. And when you do that and it just becomes a money grab, your shit becomes disposable.
There's a lot in that clip that he addressed, but a couple of things that jumped out to me is when he talked about, I guess, the accessibility in terms of everybody being able to do it. We've talked about that before. Like he said, record 50 songs in the house or whatever. Yeah, he might be on to something there, but it's funny coming from a guy that runs a playlist who says it's our fault. I don't know.
He's on a set that says Apple Music.
Yeah, but
what I'm saying,
elaborate on
the reason I'm saying that is because wouldn't he have? You would think he would have more control as to what goes on his playlist.
But didn't he just say
he took accountability?
He took accountability.
Well, yeah, I guess he did. He did kind of take out. You're right. He did. You're right. I was trying to go at him too hard on that part because you've run one. Like, you are one of the people. So I guess y'all right in that regard. He did take accountability for it.
I mean, because at the end of the day, he adapted to the system in which he was given.
Definitely did.
But I mean, as far as this is one of them topics that we discussed in layers in different ways, shapes, and forms.
I feel like we've approached it from 18 different angles.
Agreed.
So it's one of those things where I want to say, like, we missed the way things operated back in the day. It is a lot easier for you to make an album and put it out. I can, like he said, we can after this show, we can make an album and put it out tomorrow.
Right.
We got 2 producers in here. We have an MC and we have a DJ.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we can come up with some lyrics and put out something real quick tomorrow, and it's out. And that's just how easy it is to do now if you have the right pieces. As far as we talk about quality control and things like that, there's nobody gatekeeping that. And once, say we did put out this album and we meant it to be a joke, and one of those songs takes off on social media. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have a hit and eyes are on us to either make another hit or transition into becoming a host of some kind or an influencer or somebody that sits around and plays video games.
True.
Because a lot of people do that in order to just get their foot in the door. They might use a tool such as rap in order to do that. But I mean, that's just the nature of the beast right now. You can't stop it. The wheels are already turned. It's a snowball effect.
I think you could actually say that the number of people that, to your point, you're right. But the number of people that get into it to access those other chambers could be, if not the same, higher than the people that are actually creatives that want to rap.
I think
in today's climate. Like, it could be significantly higher.
Yeah.
I don't know how high, but it could be significantly higher because everybody's trying to use it as a money grab, to his point, to branch off to do something else. I agree with that.
I mean, we talk about the idea of moment music, pretty extensively on this show, but there's been moment music in every era.
Yeah.
Has the moment music in every era been as powerful as it is now? That's my question. Because I don't think so.
Yes, but when there was a difference in the level of access we had to music, say and I'm once again, I know it seems like I get to pick it on people, but say in 88, 89 when Steezo came out, and he had on the old lame pants dancing in front of the World Trade Center. I remember liking that song at the time, but I don't really have any real use for it now. And the access I had to that song was whether or not I saw it on Yo MTV Raps, or if maybe it made it into the mix show during the thunderstorm with Doc Love in St. Louis. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was it. You know, I wasn't going to hear it during the week. It wasn't going to get played like on whatever, you know, randomly after the Cosby Show or whatever on any real mainstream outlets. Yeah. But, you know, we sometimes we get upset at the idea of the prevalence of what we consider to be moment music just because of the level of access and how much it seems to flood the market because of the difference in technology. So like there was moment music, you know, in the 90s when we talk about the, you know, our golden era, when you talk about 93, 94, there was in the golden era, there was 88, 89. There was moment music on all levels, you know what I'm saying? Things that I thought, oh man, this is incredible. But then like, I didn't like it enough to go out, run out and get the album. And when they didn't come out with another album, I wasn't disappointed. I think we have these conversations and we say, oh, well, this is, you know, the music and we didn't do this and we didn't gatekeep and we didn't, you know, all I'm saying is like, we also have to take into account, just like, you know, all of us, like, except for Mike, we like to play video games. Right. You know what I'm saying? And like, we can complain about like, you know, if we go back and play like a retro game and be like, oh man, it doesn't have this feature or it doesn't have but a lot of times we have to view that through the level of technology. Sega Genesis just couldn't do what the PlayStation 5 can, you know, so sometimes we have to think about those things in context.
Yeah, that too, and I'm sorry, you might have had a point.
No, go ahead.
What I was gonna say is back then, the thing about it is the record label was putting money behind that moment music too. So they might push it for a while, but after it's not doing what they wanted to do, there we go. They pull the plug on the artist. Whereas now, somebody can make moment music right this minute and put it out tomorrow, and it pops on one of these platforms, and now all of a sudden, you got this bullshit ringing in your ear, and now somebody's trying to sign said person, give you more bullshit because there's no investment in creating it right now, you know. Whereas back then, you had somebody engineer it, you had to shoot a video for it. I mean, there was times on 106 in Park where you might have seen some Drake. This is Drake's second coming. He tried before on 106 in Park, and we wasn't feeling it. Right. So once he got the Wayne co-sign and did a little better on his lyrics, then it propelled him. So I can't sit back and just say that it's all on us as far as letting this stuff go. But there's a lot more ears on it and a lot more people that think everything's a joke and is cool with just bull anyway at the end of the day.
And I think that speaks to what I meant when I said the power. That what you just said is why I think it's more powerful now, because the access is damn near unlimited. No, you can literally just do it. And the eyes and the views that you're going to get, there were 5 steps to get half of those views back then. Now we all on the same playing field. Streaming services, more than that, because, put it out and it's time to go.
A lot of them artists had to be groomed. They had to be, you know what I'm saying, prepped for stardom, so to speak. And then they got like, okay, here's 3 singles. If one of those singles don't hit, you out here. We about to put so much money up, and if nothing happens, we'll show it. We got the budget to put you on TV. If they ain't feeling it on there, then we pulling the plug on you. Even RZA was Prince Rakim? Prince Rakim. Yep. With his first single. Yep. I remember that song.
I saw it on Yo TV Raps.
It didn't pop like that.
I remember not liking it then.
Exactly. So I mean, it gave you a chance, but then once your chance ain't happening, they pull the plug on you. Whereas now it's like, you'll get that moment for a minute. You'll get that moment at least long enough to get paid off of it nowadays. And then all of a sudden it disappears, but shoot, you've already done what you wanted to do.
Well, I mean, but at the same time, I think the marketplace will dictate whether or not you're worthy of another moment or extended moment. Like, once again, I know it's not, I'll just use the example. I don't care if people feel some kind of way. Shoot, this is what we do here.
It's what we do. Say it.
But like, remember when it was the girl Erica Banks, she had the Bust It challenge, and all of a sudden you couldn't get away from that. No. It was all on social media, and it was in the club. No. Well, I don't know if she's put out any music since then.
Couldn't tell you.
You know what I'm saying? So the marketplace will dictate. Somebody could try to grab a hold of your moment and throw some money behind it, but when the people aren't with it,
yes,
especially if you market to a certain audience, you know, I mean, as big as the baby was, he can't buy another hit right now, and he's got some music out that I think is good. But you know, the people,
he's still making his rounds.
You know, but he ain't not going to beat the Grammys this year.
My only thing is, what's the solution?
Good point.
You know, like, I feel like we're past this accountability stage at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, okay, we just have to hold ourselves accountable. Okay, but I think those of us who are a part of it already understand that aspect, right? So
Agreed.
What is the solution if this is a problem? Like, what is the solution? And that's the conversation I would prefer to have, as opposed to theorize and, you know, go down that rabbit hole of, like, it's like, I feel like we already know, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what are you doing? Like, you know, like, is his playlist, is that part of it? All right. So if you want to create this gatekeeping of such, what does it look like?
Yeah.
You know, like, what is this thing? You know, when you look at it from the lens of like the capital motive, and it's just the motive has shifted a little bit in how people get money, but it's really kind of the same as it's always been, at least since the mid 90s. Like, once hip hop became super hyper capitalist, from the Biggie era, essentially, and everything after that, it's kind of been the same. So like, if money is at the root, the main thing of an art or of a creative thing, it's always going to go down. Eventually, it's going to trickle down to this whole thing to where what we see the art as right now, because merit right now is commerce and how much you're making and all that stuff. So until we get rid of that monetary level of whatever this is, of like the art's worth being completely tied to how much money it's making, I don't think we can get rid of this.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change, simply for the fact, like you brought up the Biggie era and the artists coming up then that were actually getting paid. The difference was, like, we still had moment music at that time, but I mean, let's keep it a buck. Everybody that's getting paid were good at their art form. These were lyricists that could talk about what they doing, sounded good, the production was good, the music, the whole product was good. That's the reason why they were making the money. If somebody came with something mediocre, then I'm like, no, we cool on that. We focus on this. Now the art form has shifted to where it's not so much about somebody lyrically anymore. Like, they had the lyrics and the look. Now it's more about the look and your followers and how you can influence somebody. It's not based upon solely or a majority of your actual talent.
I would argue that, again, when money is involved in the art, it's always that. And so, like,
it's always what?
It's always, when art is just made for art's purpose, then the people that are making the art care about the art. Mm-hmm. But when art is being made, but there's always this motive on the side where it's like, well, there's capital involved. That is always the thing. And when hip hop made that switch, now it's always kind of been that way, but when it made a full switch, and I guess I would probably argue that it's always been like that, because it's hard for,
once you put it on wax, that switched.
Yeah, even like, yeah,
well, that's
like,
the music business in general.
But that's business in general, and I think that when we talk about like the de-evolution of music, I think it's directly tied to capitalism, I guess is what I'm saying, because, and I think we're just seeing this slow death of art within said system, because it's just what it pushes. It's pushing money, and people are chasing money because they care more about money than they do art, and that's not going to change under a system where you have to care about money more than art.
You said a word right there, because people care about money more than they care about life itself. And that's the reason why we're in certain situations that we're in right now. Even when it comes down on a political level, people think such and such is going to garner them more money. They could care less about what it's going to do to them on a morale.
That's the
moral
word.
point of view, they only care about the monetary. People will tell you that they will sell such and such for whatever. They just want the money.
Right.
And that's just where we're at as a whole, I think, as a society, period.
Yeah.
But like the art, we talk about art forms and hip hop. I think the problem is hip hop is, and he was talking about how we let anybody in. That's one thing that sticks out. Do we really though? We don't, but we do. Because anybody can get in if they just do it and it pops and it's automatically classified as rap. They don't classify it as anything else. They automatically group it with rap. And I have this whole thing with saying everything is hip hop. These TV shows, love and hip hop. This is hip hop. How you dress is hip hop. Everything is hip hop. You know what I'm saying? It almost like it falls to, I don't know. That bothers me because I don't think everything should be classified as hip hop.
When it is,
somebody calls it that.
When it is, it dilutes the product, man. Everything gets watered down because anything can be associated with or called hip hop. So now hip hop looks like gumbo. It's a little bit of everything now. Everybody's
good though.
Yeah, good, gumbo is good, but everybody's associated with it. So I can be hip hop if I do this, if I do that, and that just waters down the product.
Or I'm going to use it, and we've talked about this so many times. How many artists use hip hop to get in the door and then leverage it to something else?
Yep. To what they actually want to do,
exactly,
or who they actually are.
Right, because it's like we're so quick to invite somebody to the barbecue based off of one song.
True.
And this dude looks cool, and really that's a facade that he just did that to get on. Now he gave you little bits and pieces.
Stop talking about Post Malone.
And now I'm gonna move on and do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what he's talking about as far as letting anybody in. Because just because somebody appears to be cool, this kind of goes back to the conversation we had last week about how I can't identify people based on their musical interests anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? People can use that as a tool just to get in under this guise that they're a rapper or they're hip hop. And then I'm not really that. I'm much more than that. And then they want to, you know what I'm saying?
If there wasn't a profit motive, I know I'm harping on this, but if there wasn't a profit motive behind creating art or being in fashion or creating whatever the thing, you know, like you're just doing the thing because you really genuinely did it and you wanted to do it, I think that in itself fixes the problem. Because then people aren't going to be chasing something for the side. They're just going to be chasing the thing that they want to be chasing.
Be a lot less people doing it. Because there's no monetary gain. To your point, I think there'd be a lot less people doing it.
Yeah, I think even the people that want to do it wouldn't do it then. Because
I don't know about that.
We're in a society now where you have to have money to survive.
But what I'm saying, I guess what I'm proposing again is, anti that, right? Mm-hmm. If we destruct the capitalist system that we have, and then we don't chase money in the same type of way, I guess what I'm proposing is a completely drastic change of mindset in the sense of, like, I think it's societal. I don't think when I talked about like what is the solution to this, I don't think there is one in the current environment of what we have. I don't think we can police this. I don't think this is something that can be. It's just going to continue to spiral out of control until, the arts are entirely consumed and they don't matter anymore.
You remember the conversation we had? Because we had the conversation. You made a very dope point a while back. This is a long time ago, but you talked about kind of like what you're saying now about value versus, the capitalistic part. We had the conversation about the Bandcamp artist that doesn't have the fanfare, but can still create and be creatives, pay the bills, and be cool with that.
Right.
Like, to me, that's kind of closer to what you're talking about versus the people that are strictly motivated off money. Because there's plenty of people out here that's eating off Bandcamp that's just fine.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is a completely different conversation that I would take this even farther left than what I have. But I feel like I don't know what the solution is.
I don't think
otherwise.
Because we have this conversation so much, I think the solution is for us to stop complaining about how people make art and whether or not their motivation is to get paid or to make great art. Because if their motivation is to get paid, great. If they wind up getting paid because they something about what they did wind up resonating with the people, they should be paid. Then that capitalistic part of it should come into play. I'm not There are people I would rather, but I'm just like, my thing is, hey man, just say out loud, this is what you was trying to do. All right. You're not trying to make this grand artistic gesture that is going to be studied for the next 50 years. You just want to make a song that people are going to shake their ass to. And then, and then don't get mad when people call you on the fact that you make songs that people shake their ass to. You knew what you did when you started this thing out. Didn't nobody think you were going to be Nas or Chuck D or Rakim or Queen Latifah. Like, you made a song that was about just basically shaking ass and drinking liquor. Cool. All right. Hopefully you get a liquor deal and you can get some club walkthroughs out of it. Yeah. So I'm never good. But I just, at this point, I'm not going to judge anybody's motivation.
Right.
Like, I am somebody who consumes art, and I want to hear people who are sincere. And when people are sincere about an artistic statement, I want to do anything I can to support them. Like, I'm not going to be sitting up here complaining because things aren't the way they used to be. I think we just got to get out of that mode.
I agree, and I don't think we're there. I think the conversation's old at this point. Like, there's nothing that we can really address that's really going to change anything. So, like, I don't even think what you said addressed what Ebro said, but I don't think what he said can actually be addressed. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know.
It's a wrap for that.
Yeah, too far gone.
Just support the things you like, guys.
That's the key. That's the key.
And stop, like I said, stop complaining about the problem children in the class and nurture the kids who actually do their homework and read the books. I know I've made that example more than once on this show, but I think that's just so much of what this conversation, I won't even call it an argument, winds up being about. Is like,
could you make the case that Ebro cares too much? Does he care too much about the culture?
I think he cares.
That's how it sounds. Does he care too much?
To me, it feels like he's caring about the wrong thing.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong with caring, right?
Okay.
But what he's also trying to do is control something that can't be controlled, while also working for
part of the machine.
He's exactly like he's a part of the machine in his own type of way. So like, you can't fix it in that manner. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I hear you.
Yep. It's a wrap.
Yep. So this segment is, last week was, is Eric Sermon yelling at a cloud? And this one's going to be, is Ebro yelling at a cloud?